There was another reason why we didn't dare tell my parents about Filippo's violence. When the rumors of his bullying began to arrive in the family, I tried to minimize it, all by saying that in any case, if not me, at least my brother would have been able to cope with him. Most of all, I think my mother was keen to prove that at least her son Pietro was not a wimp like myself. One afternoon, while Filippo was at our house, she urged him to play the fight, to prove who was the strongest. I remember I was sitting on a bed, and she was ironing, and at the same time watching my brother's weak defense moves evolve. Even when Filippo began to go down loud and make the other pound, wishing to make him beat his head or sprain his wrists, she was shouting to go on, that she would not be satisfied until Pietro had taken them seriously. That was one of the few times in which in my mother's eyes I glimpsed that same aggressive, feral, to say the least, bestial light with which she attacked me a few years earlier, and risked breaking my neck. In the end, that inhuman and inflexible judge of ours decreed the end of the competition and sanctioned that my brother and I had been liars to exalt one of ours at the expense of Filippo. The latter rose from the red-faced floor, proud to have given such a beautiful display of his strength, even in front of an adult, mostly the mother of his victim. In his pale-eyed gaze, still lit with competitive fury, I also read a slight hesitation. It was the child's disbelief that he would never have imagined that a mother could do such a thing to her children. In fact, I myself could not believe that I could not be safe from Filippo's oppression even at my house, in front of my mother. For the first time the floor began to crumble under my feet, in the presence of an external threat from which no one, not even the people I had learned to trust most, could defend me. "If you want, I can fix this too," Filippo offered to my mother, loosening the collar of his shirt and already approaching me, puffing with excitement. "No, he never said he was stronger than you," Mom said, gesturing for him to let it go. Was it yet another humiliation for me? I don't believe so. I suffered more for my brother, who still took a long time to get back on his feet, and to swallow that bitter toad. I don't know if she ever recovered from that display of maternal contempt. It is certain that after that she never dared to touch Filippo, my brother. At this point, I would like to read it to reflect, to think. It almost never happens like that in the movies, where the child humiliated in front of the parents spends his entire life trying to redeem himself and showing what he's made of. There are also cases where the mocking of a mother can mock for life and destroy a character that will never completely recover. Obviously, I don't have the presumption to speak um, for Pietro or my life. Um, the same Pietro, I just he kept talking to him just for another 4 years. Hmm. Well, my brother and I had always known that Filippo was a very disturbed child. We were careful not to expose his stunts at home, however, for fear that our parents would forbid us to go out alone. We should have been seriously alarmed and run away, for example, after the time that Filippo tried to strangle Pietro by throwing his hands around his neck for no reason. I intervened, pale as a rat, to distract him. Proud of myself, he clearly told me that killing a human being felt a thrill that I would never have understood. On another occasion he came to threaten me with a folding knife, but at the time I could say I was already worn out by his violence. I felt an anxiety of isolation and confinement that finally led me to the much postponed escape. In one of our many idle walks, we had gone as far as the home of the paternal grandparents in the popular buildings where I had lived as a child. For some curious reason that has escaped me by now, I had a quirk of introducing Filippo to my grandmother and grandfather. Then I really wanted to let my second inappropriate mother knew the only real playmate of my life. I wanted to show Filippo, on the other hand, an aspect of my life that he hardly knew. The one of a more calmer myself, more poised, studious, exemplary in few. My grandmother worked in few. My grandmother worked crochet, sitting at a kitchen table. My grandfather read the newspaper in his room. I remember that on that occasion I was struck by a tremendous desire for tranquillity, silence, security. I wanted to stay with my grandmother and escape from the next risky pranks that Filippo could still drag me to until evening. "Now let's go, my boy dear," he said, twisting his mouth like a grimace after just 10 minutes and trying not to be heard by my grandmother, who meanwhile was under the illusion that we were only interested in her crochet work. "A little longer, please," I said. In reality I liked to see my grandmother working on her doilies, to such an extent, being all days in her company. Since then every single Sunday of my life had pleasurized me and tired me to a well. The fact is that when we finally took our leave and were preparing to descend the stairs to exit the palace, Filippo exploded against me in one of his hysterical and unmotivated shouts. "If you do it again, I swear I'll kill you." "What have I done?" I said. "You kept us all there from the old woman, when we should have walked around the way I like it." "But I like being with my grandmother," I answered. "I never said a thing like that." Filippo pulled a folding knife from his pocket and pointed it at me a couple of steps away, assuring me that even so small the blade would hurt like a real knife. It was true that I would never have had the courage to run away, but I didn't have the courage to go forward either. Pietro was watching, as terrified as I was. Perhaps if he had dared to speak, he would have advised me to obey Filippo as always and thus to dissolve the tragedy like a soap bubble. In those moments, however, with my grandmother so close to me just on the other side of the wall, I was called to immediately choose between a state of poisonous but ordinary tranquillity and an act of violence against which my entire disposition rebelled. I chose the first one, flew up the stairs, and immediately rang the bell. Philip, the doorbell. Filippo didn't even dare to follow me. He turned abruptly and ran away with Pietro. Well, I hope this was interesting enough for you to hear. I keep talking about my false friendship in the next video. Thank you so much for listening to me. Please comment if you have some questions. See you to the next video.